Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning to myself. How y'all doing?
Good morning to you.
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm doing well. I'm excited to be here.
Same.
Great from Kenya.
How you doing, Gichuki?
From Kenya, Ghana, and Ecuador.
Exactly.
This is my crazy life. Well, I'm glad that you guys could come together because I'm excited about stuff. It don't take a whole lot for me to be excited, but
Did she freeze? Gichuki?
Yeah, she just woken up. I think she's freezing. You know, how is Ghana?
Ghana's so good so far. I'm just settling in. I just got here on 2 days. So I'm still learning and trying to navigate my way.
Okay. Yeah.
I came to pave the way.
You are the John the Baptist. You are paving the way for Jesus. Yes. You've traveled a bit for the last couple of months.
Yeah.
this is exactly why God lets us operate in our giftings. Technology is not my lane. It is not my lane. It is not. I can't keep my stuff charged up. Not my lane. I think I'm back and plugged in this time. I'm glad it don't hang up on everybody. Oh, geez. Well, what would maybe helpful in this setting, maybe just giving each of us a introduce ourselves and maybe why this feels important enough to put some time on the calendar to talk about it a little bit further. So either of you, if you'd like to just jump in and just share that to help center us really on this morning, this time.
Yeah, I can go. I just really excited about making connections because that's kind of what I do best, but not kind of those connections happening organically and kind of just in the flow of everything. And so I am really excited to talk about the possibility of first meeting Gichuki back in 2019, that strategic planning meeting that he facilitated with Amani Kabira, kind of brought out some of these things around cultural exchanges and him coming to the US and us going to Kenya to do some work around healing, around tourism. Like, we've had conversations deep into the night about these things back in 2019. And so then feeling so at home and feeling so compelled to learn more about your work, LaRahna, being in Ecuador, that was like another amazing opportunity that I feel like has equal excitement for me. So it was the one being out in nature, which I'm not a nature person, and Gichuki being able to get me out there and, you know, kind of starting something along the lines of me moving to the farm and going into another direction in adulthood that is very healing, being outside, overcoming some fears around that, and just all of that and the alignment that I felt like we had, LaRahna, and taking it to another place. I think that would be amazing, and I'm here because I think both of you are amazing people, and I'm hoping that we can pull that all together.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Davi. Let me jump in and pick from 2019. and also thanks so much. I don't want to call you Hughes or call you LaRahna. Which one? I don't know. We'll agree later on.
LaRahna's fine. LaRahna's fine. I like my name. I have much joy out of it.
Oh, sure. Fantastic. just like I like Gichuki a lot. And Davi knows why Gichuki, because it's just a name that is so resonates with what I do in nature. Just a bee, around nature.
Mine is the frog. Mine is the frog.
Her name
is speaking countries. I'm the frog. Mm-hmm. Much joy. So many stories of joy. So many.
Oh yeah.
Keeps giving. So okay. I'm done.
That's okay. There's a frog in the marshlands, and the bee up in the flowers. All of them making the ecosystem. And just a quick one. I think when I met Davi in 2019, that was an icebreaker, and I didn't know what I did was really to address her many years of fears of life. And she told me, Gichuki, I've never been to this kind of environment. We used to call that road to nowhere. Nobody knows where you're going. And it was a very beautiful space to do that. But building on that, earlier on, my life always rotates around transformation, because I do love transformation, and I find fulfillment when I see change in people, when I see them appreciating where they're coming from and what they become in life. And this opportunity that is unfolding provides also a good background of what I am doing currently, because Davi knows we had Tabasamu Afrika Hub, and that's the hub where we stayed and where we had all these processes. And at the same time, this year, moving into Tabasamu Training Institute, an institute that is going to support young people and their caregivers to look at social transformation. And I love that component, because it is a space I've been doing for the last many years. How does, practice meets theory? There's so much theoretical framework we have, but where do they meet? And I find the Institute as a good space to really boil what we are sharing into the healing process. It's actually part of social transformation. It's part of the change we are looking for in people. And I think, LaRahna, you have then, this is how we can do it. So this cultural exchange from a global level, because that's where we position ourselves, not just as a local institute, but also looking at the global space. How do we pick from each other? So I'm excited for this, and it is an opportunity to launch the ideas that we have been accumulating over the years. And I remember with the Davi, when I was driving in the US for the first time, keeping left, and we were saying one time people will move from US and all over the world to this opportunity that is in Africa. And thanks, here we are. LaRahna.
Thank you. And I guess in way of a brief introduction, both of what you have spoken of intersects with really my life passion. This is a lifestyle. It's the natural extension of what comes out of me being LaRahna. My passion is about helping us each connect with passion, our own passions, because that's where we bring our best to the world. That we bring what we're supposed to leave here. I'm a retired farmer, so it's the seeds we're supposed to plant. And part of that work is realizing that if we're going to heal deeply in the direction that this new paradigm is going, it starts with us. That we have to be able to live what healing is. And that our leadership has to be based on that, where the people and the projects are never more important than the people. and that the leaders are going to have to be people who really live this as a lifestyle. They live community, they live love, they live that commitment to healing the things that are wrong. And you don't have to do it all at once. Just as you get to it in your own life personally, are you willing and committed to do the healing work? Because if that happens, if the commitment happens, one, you got to have some tools on, okay, how do we do it? But if the commitment is there, then we can go forward together knowing that as we get to those bumps in the road, because we're people and we don't have identical value systems, that we have the tools to be able to address those in ways that heal us, in ways that teach us how to live together. And my particular passion has been, how do we get these cogs turning? It's a very strategic work that says we already know how to do housing, food, water, power, and economics. But if we don't deal with the values in our own lives, like fear that causes us to hoard or be greedy, the insecurities, and the guilt about doing what our spirit tells us to do and what we know is right, but we don't have the courage to do. If we don't fix that, solutions and all the technology that we got to go from here to the next galaxy won't help us fix it. And so my work about 20 plus years ago now was setting out on, if we know that's the case and we've got to heal people for all of those other things to work well, what would happen if we found solutions to do that? And what if we did that first? And that really has shaped my work specifically. How do we heal us so that we can lead others into healing? And do we have the appropriate tools to do that? At the time, the answer was not yet, but we have to find them. And then my work was, what if we could find a better set of tools to help us get to this new paradigm? And that literally has to start with healing. So we have to have better tools to do healing. And that really sets the foundation for this model of work that I am personally involved in. It really is a healing first mindset. And that includes working on the projects with leaders who have healing as their own personal non-negotiable, not what they just tell other people to do, because we need to do that too. Strongly encourage and support others' healing, but leaders who have said, but healing starts with me. The Taoist says, if you heal one person in the world, you've changed the world. And the reality is there's only one person you have absolutely control over changing, and that's yourself. And so it makes sense in all the spiritual traditions that I've studied, and I've studied them all. I'm a professional seminarian. When people really call the task labels and titles, I'm a professional seminarian. I like to say I've been the llama's mama. So you can put that in frame that however you want to as far as relevance. I've been a lot of things, but I think healing first is the only way from my consulting vantage point that I could see as healing community. And that's this work. The low-hanging fruit, how do we give people exposure to that, is the healing vacation retreats that I do here at the center, and I've done it other places. Before moving here to Ecuador, I did these as weekend retreats or week-long retreats in various places that people wanted to go vacation and rest to. Because people understand vacation, even if they don't understand the details of what I do with it. You understand that vacation sometimes is the way that you're able to rest and recoup so you can go back into life and keep doing life. For people that have that as a value, that's not a hard sale. But if you also need healing, how do we pair those two together so that you don't compromise that you can see, and that's the tangible value of vacationing, with the healing you really need to do? I'm old school. You do your work before you go out and play. And for me, I take that literally. If we aren't doing healing work, you'll have time to play. Matter of fact, your play gets even better. But it also is a model for an economic structure that can be used at the global network of healing spaces that I want to create. I want to join together places all around the world whose focus is a healing first mentality. In whatever way their giftings and their passions let them express it. And so when I began thinking about what you were doing, some of the conversations about how you were interacting, my work is specifically looking for the shifters and pioneers, those who are already in motion at 75 to 100 miles an hour. I don't know what that translates to in kilometers, but fast, you're already in motion. This isn't people that's just saying, I think there's a problem. These people who said there was a problem 25 years ago, and they've been doing their own personal work to hone their passion to get real clear on the lanes that they're supposed to be in. And she talked about some of the work very specifically with you and the young men. And she shared about how you were working with them. And that resonates for me because this is where we work together. That if I'm one step or two steps ahead of you, I can hold your hand and bring you a little bit further, but that we're going to need some of the elders, spiritual elders in life, in all different places, that already understand some parts of community. And when she began telling me about your work with the men in real life, not because it's pretty, not because it pays a whole lot sometimes, that's oftentimes the case, but because this work you feel called to do, that resonated with me. And then she told me you have a facility. And part of this is about economic freedom as well. You can't do the will that God has called you to do, or that you volunteer to do, whatever the case may be, if you don't have some economic freedom. And part of this is about being able to share this infrastructure where we base the foundation of rebuilding society on healing first, and then roof overhead, food on the table next, because that's critical for every single person. And so part of what the Healing Vacation Retreat model lets me do is I can take it anywhere, literally anywhere in the world, and be able to not only give these tools to individuals there, but to teach people or expose people, really it's exposure, who are already doing this work, how to increase their effectiveness with adding healing to what they're doing. I say all that and then give the full disclosure part. I have a personal commitment in my life, though. I'm not going to work with nobody that doesn't do the work of healing in their real life, because then I'd be selling a lie. I'd be saying, we ain't really doing no healing, but we'd like to have your money. And we'd like to find ways to be able to get a little more of your money and be able to come and give you this experience that we don't see valuable enough to do ourselves. And so part of this is some of the conversation today to talk about, do we want to? But it's also me being able to maintain the integrity of my work and say, but if you want to come work with me, you got to be doing some healing. My work is about some tools that I think have become the most effective solution I can find, but how we can quickly implement the critical tools in society that we need to be able to live in harmony and do the healing at the same time. But I'm also a numbers person. I come out of the tax industry, and so it's also got to be economically sustainable. And so now that we have some real numbers to be able to really talk about that and what it would take for everybody at the table to be able to be in a winning position, not only us individually, but also those participants that come, that we're able to give fair value to for the exchange, because sustainable community works with healthy give and take. And so I guess in way of an introduction, I'm looking for collaborators that expand this global work that we need, because I believe that if we get those who are ready, wherever they are, we'll begin to build this global network of the right kind of leaders for our new paradigm, those who can really live this work. That period. So with that in mind, let's talk about what I propose. We've had a time to look over it, and what my proposal is. One is to work. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
My initial maybe directives for maybe the way we spend the rest of the time that we've got allotted would be to really talk about just the highlights of the vision that I presented in writing, and what that looks like, especially from a healing perspective. And then maybe talk about any feedback to that, any confirmation or disparities that are within your value system. And I won't take any of it personal, because this is where we get to be honest. And then see where we are, and if need be, we move forward and talk about the dollars and cents of it and what it would take to be sustainable economically. I proposed a 2-week really plan. And part of that was to be able to provide opportunity for a team to come in and have time to work with you and your leaders, some personal training time before the rest of the group comes in, I'd like for there to be some virtual training time that we do in advance, but I got some videos that I can do some exposure stuff and some challenges to kind of put to you to begin interfacing with the tools, but would give us some time in those first, I think I planned, initially 3 or 4 days on the front side. Come in, let us get acclimated, time zone and all that, the team that we come with. And I'm proposing a 4-person team. I don't really know who that team gonna be yet, but LaRahna 1, Davi 2, round that team out from this cohort coming to you. And whatever team you identify there within your facility, your personal team of people, whoever that may be, to have that time to really interface with these tools and kind of do some of the work the kinks out and the discomforts out of learning to work together, and that we collectively then host a group that comes in for the week-long training curriculum that I have that has those spaces for us to do the exposure stuff, which is why I asked about the excursioning and things like that, and anything else that's your specialty and the seeds that you want to plant to this group. There's a way in this model to be able to merge those callings together into the retreat format for that week. And then it leaves us another 3 days at the end to round out that 2-week time for debriefing, reflection, any future planning and points of connection that may have come out of that experience. And so I proposed that we occupy one of the houses that would have enough for our team coming in, be able to interface with you, which is a calendaring thing, occupy your entire facility for that next week, and then go back to occupying that house with our leadership team for the rest of those days to round that out. The economics of it, we'll talk about how we can afford to then supplement local individuals with the training at the same level as those who are paying. And that's a matter of economics. With some of the base numbers that I worked with, my goal was if we could bring half of a cohort that's paid and be able to provide a scholarship for every person that's a paid person, so that you could maybe using some of these tools that I offer, identify the shifters and pioneers within your sphere of influence and be able to offer that. Whether we can do a 1-to-1 match versus a 2-to-1 match is an economics thing, and we'll have to talk about that later on what the numbers say. The excursion cost is part of one of those things and juggling that. But to be able to offer a collective of scholarships to be used by within your network of people there, individuals who may not otherwise be able to afford the training that we're offering and the experience to be able to come and retreat to be able to get that training. So pulling from that, and that would be something that we look at doing possibly the first part of November, considering weather factors and timing to be able to plan, develop the team, do some just relationship building thing, because I'm big on the people are more important than the projects. You know, we're here because we think we're talking about a retreat, but it may be that we just need to make a connection, and talking about a retreat gives us a reason to make the connection. I'm open to that always, because the world works, you know, the Lord and the universe works how it works. But that is what I'm proposing. The tools that we have are really, I think, foundational in helping us help leaders move better, move quicker, move from a much more healed perspective. And then it's partnering with those things that the two of you feel are your callings to bring to this, and really merge it into this version of the Healing Vacation Retreat that can be very special. But also the leaving is about leaving you with some other potentials for how to expand the work that you're doing, so that there's always a strong foundation in it that could be healing. I think it's not only good for society, but it's good economics as well, if we're building our new way of doing business on things that's critical. So that's what I'm proposing. I'd love to hear your feedback, your input on where that connects for you each. And I'm counting this as my sermon for the day. I'm counting it.
Yeah, I was I'm right on board with you around. You mentioned that not being willing to work with people who are not on that journey and not on that path, and that for me is that for me has to happen as well. And spending time with both of you, I've realized that's what's happening. So that was a non-negotiable for me as well. I like about, you said something about if you heal one person, you heal the world. That really resonated with me because just kind of naturally my reasoning for wanting to learn every day and be a better person every day is around the world and legacy. You know, I want to heal my bloodline. I want to do things differently than we've done in the past. So that's part of my personal journey and why I do the things I do in the way that I do them. So that week, interfacing with the tools that week in advance. Did you say a week for the trainers?
A 2-week window, 4 days on the front side, 3 days on the back side. Some stuff preemptive before we get there. We'd have from now until maybe November-ish to be able to schedule in some stuff. I would like 10 hours of time commitment, maybe, to be able to expose and train. There's a 4-hour video. 2 of it's really training. The other 2 was talking to some other shifters about how we begin to work together and scale up that might be relevant to this audience specifically. And then maybe about 6 hours of interaction time, really doing circle, 5 or 6 1-hour sessions of actually doing the work. So about a 10-hour commitment is what I would make as the ask. I have some of this set up in a Google Classroom already, where you can go through kind of self-paced, because we're in different time. As you can see, we in 3 different time zones on a way wide stretch. Okay, a way wide stretch. Wait, hold on 1 second, pause. I got guests here, so please pause and have patience with me. Got me sidetracked. Where was I at, you guys? Help me get back on point. The ADHD.
You were talking about the tools that you already have in place that we could have access to.
Yeah, so I've got a Google Classroom that's already set up where some of that time could be going through, because it asks some of the questions that I'd ask you, but some of it's in video format, so we could do it on an individual time frame. But part of the give and take, the ask, would be for about 10 hours of time that you would commit with me on really training and understanding from a cursory level, not all of social tech, but specifically the healing tools, and see how it feels with your life.
Right.
Part of this is my work is that this is a tool that has to work in all of our spiritual traditions. It's not a Christian curriculum. It's not a Muslim curriculum. It's not a Taoist curriculum. It has to be the common core that connects us. So part of this is literally seeing if there's any conflictions in your current value system that these healing tools present. I don't think they do, but I don't make decisions for other people. And so this is about us being able to come to the table honest, because when you say I support this work of healing and social tech in this way, it needs to be honest, because the integrity of this work is about us saying that we're honest about what we say. We're not just faking it for the pictures and for the PR, that we truly believe that healing and using these tools, because if you see the benefit of what healing using these tools gives you, and the residual tools that it gives you, conflict resolution, honest communication, some other life processing tools that just are the yappas, the extras, that part of this is then you can more boldly support what we're doing in full. We want a team of people where everyone on board says, we're behind this. We're supporting this work. I want to know your work so that I can say, if you go into Kenya, go hook up with my friends over there. If you want some jump roping, let me call in someone who's going to come, and their integrity is going to be about healing us. And this is about creating a new kind of network where our network, the organizational structure that I have, the RePioneering church part that says, these are people who are committed to living their purpose, and their commitment extends to their commitment level to fix anything within them that hinders them living their purpose from a standpoint of love. As it comes up, more and more we committed to getting better, and are better continuing to improve. And so having a network that's strong like that is how I believe we'll be able to change the world with greater momentum. with momentum. And so I'm passionate about it because from a consulting mindset, every other scenario takes us right back to the same dysfunction. And it's what if we begin healing first? And it's working for me. And I'm in the point of life where I ain't got to do nothing that ain't working. I ain't got to do it. And dealing with hurt and harm for the sake of the programs is old. It's old. It's sting. And I ain't got to do nothing I don't want to do. I'm retired. And so I want to do this work with people who want to do this work, who knows what it feels like to live in their passion, who knows that that's the easiest thing you can do, who want to live life where it feels good. And that's important to me.
So yeah, I think that piece of it is very necessary for whoever the team is, whoever the team is that would be put together to go. But yeah, that's I'm feeling good about it. Okay.
Sorry about that. So that's what I'm proposing. Here's where we are. Any other feedback before we move to numbers? Then, are we in agree? Does it feel like we have enough alignment to move forward?
Yeah, just to reflect, bounce back what I heard from you, Lana, and what that means for the process and also for the adoption, but more importantly, the shared passion, the shared dream in the process. I do agree. I do feel very connected to what you shared a lot about the healing and the purposeful living. And I think we've been stuck a lot into the dysfunctionalities, and we keep falling back to them. And I think over my last couple of years working with young people, working with families, and working with adults whom we call mentors for the young people, you know, sometimes they have not addressed their own issues and they are still working with the same young people, and you know, you expect results, you only hear disaster at the end of it, because the mentors, the adult companion have not accepted and healed, and therefore it becomes a bigger challenge into the healing process. So the cycle is the same. So unless we address our own dysfunctionalities, unless we accept to heal ourselves, then I think all this is vanity, and is a vanity, and we are in the same cycle. So I do accept and believe in that dream that you have, because it is so powerful to look at how do we heal ourselves. And the leaders whom we want to bring on board, I think I like the percentage, you know, not just the percentage, but are these people really ready? Do they speak the language of healing? Otherwise, it might be, you know, sometimes it can be another workshop, it can be another training, it can be another retreat, and things go back to normal. So I think there is a lot of, there's a lot of vetting here, a lot of scrutiny, a lot of checking who really in the people we know and people we feel could benefit from this kind of space are. And that probably, Lana, maybe in a question of your dream, which I love a lot, you know, joining places around the world for healing. You know, there's a bigger dream of what you have. How do we join these places in Africa, probably in other places? And how does that become a movement? How does that become an opportunity for further growth and even further research into certain aspects of our lives that we may be not knowing? So I like that dream, and that would be very strong to do that. And I think adding to what some few areas of clarity into the 2 weeks, and looking at just to check if one, we are looking at the TOT, the trainers of trainers. There are people we are selecting and saying this number of people come on board earlier, and they have both the physical, the online, which they go through, and then understand the process, and maybe come even earlier on before the other groups join. Then we have a team of trainers or facilitators, the TUT. I just want to check on that with you. And then the other element was looking at the Google Classrooms, and this is where you said it will be online, the 10 hours. Maybe you'll share later on how these 10 hours are distributed so that we can see the commitment to the people. So those were my only two questions that probably for clarification, then we can go into the next steps moving forward.
So let's see. One of the first things was the website for my center is intentionally called the globalundergroundrailroad.com. Part of that is about imagery and symbology. As a Black woman from American heritage, the slavery period is one that we understand a little bit of, that history, the collected history can tell us. But the part of it that's really significant to me is that there were some people that even before the systems all failed said, I gotta go get freedom now. And even though they were individually committed, by having an underground railroad, it helped that journey to freedom be easier than it would have been if they had to do it all by themselves. And part of this is American society specifically, but humanity right now that's been swung on this pendulum of colonialism has gotten to the point where the paradigm is dying. There are those who are saying we've got to get to a new level of freedom now, even before those systems completely die out, because how else do we guide others over that bridge to freedom? But it also is symbolic of the time of slavery, where slaves in America were thrown with nothing out into creating communities, and they did. But in those times since then, there's not been that opportunity to do collective healing. What if they had had the ability to do healing, that resiliency to be able to create community that thrives, but with the healing? How much further can we get in the new paradigm? And it's saying we're in just another time just like that, where the old paradigm is dying, a different kind of slavery, the kind that we volunteer and pay for ourselves. But it's freedom nonetheless. And just like then, if individuals are wanting freedom into the new paradigm, would it not be compassionate ministry to help them? And so setting up a global underground railroad that really is a spiritual railroad of places that healing is important. And where should we put the entrance to that but a place to be able to rest for the journey and get new tools appropriate for the journey and where you're going to. And that is literally what my work is. That is literally the work of International Welcome Center. It's to say, you got to first get out and rest. But the rest has to be for the purpose of equipping yourselves to then make the journey, because this ain't freedom yet. Your own personal freedom is you getting free enough to connect with the purpose that's within you. Not just in mind, that's a start, but then getting you to the place where you can live it. And that means your time and your money got to be freed up to do that. And so that's the rest of the work. How do we do that? We build a network, a global underground network of places that they can go and live into that new paradigm. Part of the work is building new villages, building intentional communities, because as you begin to heal, it becomes intolerable to go live that other way anymore. And for your own sanity, we're going to need to have communities where you can live these principles with others who are equally committed, so that your energy is not being devoted to defensiveness only, just protecting yourself, that your energy can be spent into learning how to live into your passions. And part of the vision is that we create a literal global underground network where the places on the network are places that first are places committed to healing. Now, maybe they do scuba diving, Maybe they do safaris. Maybe they do painting or quilt making or wood whittling or whatever someone's passion does, but that these places are places that first and foremost are where healing is lived. Because we want the monies and the resources, the energy, the human capital to be invested in those places. If someone wants to come to Kenya, I want them to go to safe places that'll facilitate healing, to be able to have those experiences. Why? Because those resources need to be put in your pockets and in the pockets of others who need to be well-resourced to continue to do the work, if we're being real. And so part of this is even visioning this activity. We got somebody in Kenya that sounds like he's already in motion in the direction of the new paradigm. How can we further support it? If I'm gonna do a healing vacation retreat, I can do it here, but I would like to go to Kenya and do one. And if I did, why wouldn't I go and support the work that's already being done in this? Because that's how we use these resources over and over, in the right hands. And so this is literally the work of creating that. There's some other works going on. We're building some physical communities in Ecuador and back in the United States right now, literally. Places that can be places that do that, but you have a place that's already established. And I believe in working with what shows up. It's the universe's responsibility to show up what I need. Davi just happened to come by my space because I wouldn't have known about you had it not been for Davi. And part of this is finding the points of connection in life. Because life's the curriculum, and life will present the opportunities for us to connect. We just make the choices. And my work is about finding those people, making sure they have these tools. Do you have a better toolbox to work with to avoid some of the pitfalls? This ties into something else you said about knowing how to. Social triage is a part of the social curriculum toolbox. Doesn't start there, it starts with healing. But some of the other tools that we have for leaders are about knowing how to then use this healing foundation to do social triage. Who are the shifters? Who are the settlers? And how do I deal differently with each of them to be effective? There's a whole body of work that's a part of that leadership training. The training takes about 6 months in residency, a lot longer when it's not in residency, because life also becomes part of the curriculum. But that is about equipping. I've been talking to Davi about somebody on her team in Ithaca coming and getting trained to be able to train, because there needs to be people to go to Kenya and spend 3 months at a time or 6 months on a whole to be able to get your people competent to go. Because I ain't coming there to stay 6 months because I got other things I need to do. But there will be those that do come that can do that work. Some of your leaders may want to do additional training. How do we help facilitate them coming, if that's what's need be, to do the training, to come back and be that ambassador back to Kenya, or the ambassador to this niche of people? And so it really envisions that I'm in the process of building that team, literally. Building a team who will converge here and other places, but here, to be able to help us do this quicker and faster. And proximity has some benefits. I got a situation yesterday, and I said to a friend, if I had an engineer on tap right now, I've got the revision to the building plans that we need for this permit this in process this week to be able to get done. I need to tweak it just a little bit. Without a team, it slows us down. Part of that's intentional, divine slowdowns. But part of it is, as we get closer to the cusp of crisis, our leaders need to be prepared. We need to be practicing the theoretical in real time so that we know we can live it. And so this work is about saying, this is what the universe has shown up. Where is the network going to be? There needs to perhaps be a connection in Africa. Maybe it hadn't. Maybe part of that connection starts with Kenya. How do we build a global network that really says, first and foremost, this is a network of people who are committed to healing, who are then operating in their passions? And how can we then share these places of healing with those who feel called to seek out healing from them? So did that answer all those things on your checklist of questions?
and added more actually, and actually more clarity was put in there, and allow me to reiterate. I think that compression of where we are heading to makes it even more clearer on the steps that we can take into the future, and what we in Tabasamu can be able to position and look at ourselves even from a different perspective, and strengthening the work that we have been able to do in the past. So I do get that clarity very well, and I believe it answers quite a bit of the question, the framework. It answers the framework, and then we can be able now to fit in the context, the content into the framework. And I think for me that's better clearer now. Maybe unless Davi, you have something else.
No, I'm good. I'm clear. We can move. I think we can move to the numbers part if everybody's ready for that.
Yeah, let me pull that up so I'm looking at it live. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Let me pull both sets of those numbers, mine and then the excursion number.
And I'm sure maybe as Lana is looking at that, there would be some migration probably with the new thinking, with the new thought process that has been shared. There could be review of certain aspects. So I think that would be in order. Maybe as we look at the numbers and also look at the new mindset that has also been in there, looking into the future more, looking at the spaces. Also, some of them could be reviewed given what we have also received from Lana today. Thank you.
How are we going to help your community? And part of that is, I expect if there's healthy give and take, if there's the possibility for there to be a give from both of us. I had an experience while Davi was here with a gentleman who's a community pastor. He is a street pastor. And we went in community. And the way this looks in real life was, we went to go jump rope. That's a give. We went to go spend some quality time with these children. That's a give. I recognize the value of our human capital going. He was giving out Christmas goodies to the children, and he had strategically kept some to take to the widows of this community. And he said they often get overlooked when they got goodies. You help them when you need to. They need food and medicine, but when there's goodies, everybody like goodies. Everybody. But when we went, he made sure that he gave Davi and I goodies to share, so that we were a part of this experience, so that we got to be the givers and not just taking in this experience. We were taking in this experience he was giving us. We were getting something for this. But to put us in a position where we could also be givers is real important to me from on every level of what I do. So part of this is we want to pay you, Tabasamu. We want to pay Tabasamu enough to be profitable so that we then can say, now how many spaces can we offer in scholarship to those within your community who may not have the economics? They may not have $2,500 to come to Ecuador and have this retreat, or to pay to come do it at your facility. And you may not be able to sustainably let them come to your facility and feed them generously for free. So when I start looking at excursions, let's get to that point. The excursions look to be about $5,000 or so added to the budget of just doing the retreat that it would take. That reduces the buffer of margin that I've got in my budget. So there's one of two things that we would have to do for this to be sustainable. One is to look at a couple of things, and there's a couple of things that stand out. If we were to come in at the higher price point, could that be included to offset some of the excursion costs, especially in those areas for like some of those extra meals? Some of the times that we're gone, there was an added cost for things like meals on site and things like that. If we were coming in at a higher budget point, could that include that to bring that cost down? Because I can't come there sustainably if I got a profit margin of 0. Because that means we may get there and not have enough because we can't figure in the buffers and things like that. And that's not sustainable. And I'm committed to that too, just for personal sustainability in my own life. If we can look at that package and get that package down some with the budget, that one either lets us keep the 13 spots free, or we'll need to reduce the number of free spots we have to keep us into a sustainable budget. That's really the proposition that I have in looking at the numbers, because part of this is what give can you match with our give to be able to come to the table and make sure that everybody at the table can be sustainable in this. You'll know what that takes. This could be you pulling from your community resources that got transportation, and our people will deal with whatever kind of transportation you got. If it's tuk-tuks taking us to the place that they say these are our friends and they're willing to do it for gas costs instead of charging this, or some part of the give to this also that matches with ours so that we can both be sustainable. I don't want to come and not be sustainable and then I'm feeling salty about this experience because I didn't have to go on in some more into my play money and be able to put my play money out there. I'm stuck in Kenya and got to pay this bill or whatever, just life. But that's real. That's real and it's honest. It's honest. It's about setting boundaries that I know I can be sustainable in life and keep doing this work. So that is a piece that I need to get some input on how we do that. So that's where I'm at number-wise for it to be sustainable for me. That lets me or Davi and I to bring a team of 4, including us. So that lets us bring 2 others over to help just with the facilitation based on the approximate size of that group. Gives us enough to be able to do some advanced training and resourcing in that regards, and come and be able to really participate fully with our pockets. Thoughts?
Yeah, thanks so much for that review. Sort of a look at that, and just looking at the range. I like the fact that you look at the range. What is there? Can that be able to manage with a revision on the excursion, so that then can it be able to fit in there? So that the numbers are there. And I think that's why I gave every information so that we could look at it from different perspectives and see what can work best. Where do we bring the economy of scale? Where do we exactly go? How far do we want to go? What's the community contribution? What are the sort of the refined movement that we can have? At the same time, keeping the experience also of the there's a vacation plus the retreat also, so there's also the vacation element. Maybe that also probably look at it if we are assigning it within that period we are in Tabasamu. There are some places that includes that kind of vacation. You feel I want to see this part. I was happy to see this part of the country. So that's the balancing that probably I need to revisit and see what exactly do we put in place. But I think all in all, I love 2 things that you mentioned that we can work with about sustainability, which is critical, because also that helps the community and helps the programs based on the value you mentioned earlier. That is a place you want to come and say, yes, I was in Tabasamu. It's a center of healing. So how do we design that, including as we come for the first time? How do we package that? That is a center of healing. So the numbers, I think, if possible, I'll still revisit with the mind you mentioned. Look at.
That is the only thing for me, making sure that we both come to the table with the give and take, that we both receive from this, that helps us in the work economically, but that we both have a give, because that keeps us balanced. But it also is the living it in practice and make sure that it's sustainable. I think those are the options. It's really one and the same if we're wanting to go forward. That if we can shave off some of that excursion cost by moving to the higher total package price per person, and keep us at that 1-to-1 ratio, that we shoot for that, or at least aim for that. I think that would be a huge win in just the dynamics of the 1-to-1, that it's not Americans coming to do for you. We're doing this together. That is important for me. It's important for me. It's still progress if we don't make that number, but I think we could. If we get creative on how we do that, not knowing your network of resources, how we do that, but like literally, if you can talk to your people who have transportation and say, I need y'all to come to me and provide transportation, because transportation will take this cost out and get us to where 13 of our people get to come into this training. That would be an easy fix that would take care of the numbers piece of it. You talking to your people and and then tell us what to expect so we can prepare our people, because sometimes we got issues with our expectations. We get them ready. And I'm the right one to say, we going to the hostel. That's where we going. Why? Because my friend owns the hostel and we want money in his pockets. And I say that real directly to people. We could be at that. To me, that would just be a dream to be able to come, because then we do it like brothers and sisters. Whatever. That's my piece. Next steps. What are you guys feeling next step wise we should do next?
I would say to go back and look at how those changes might be able to happen on the budget, in terms of, like you mentioned, transportation, maybe looking at other ways to supplement that, and come back to the table.
The other part of this is I'm working to create a model that works for most of the places, the cost points that let us do more. And if I can have the same cost point here as you could have there and be sustainable, then we are not competitors. It's just about choice. If folk want to go to Ecuador, the healing retreat costs the same amount. If folk want to go over there to Kenya, the healing retreat costs the same amount, and it builds an economic structure and sustainability in for you. So we're leaving the goodwill of saying, we're not going to be your competitors. We're a network. And you can now go to Ecuador or Kenya and do the same thing. Different vibe. Gonna be different excursions, different vacation opportunities, different people, different life experiences that shape it and give it its individuality. But I'm real big on building replication into this, building this network of places. Because some folks that want to go to Africa, I can send them to you and say, go here. He's safe. He's in our network, and we'll hold him accountable. If you get over there and he gets sideways, we're gonna call him, because he's committed to us. He's committed to us to be a part of the healing network, because that's an important piece of community. Exactly. He's committed to be healing. So if I send someone there and he's acting sideways, first of all, have grace, because we all got issues. But second of all, we're in accountability with each other as leaders, because that's some of what's missing. And the social tech work builds that into our relationships, because it's about the people before the projects. So I think that's a good next step, Davi, that we go back and rerun those numbers and make sure that everyone can win. And the follow-up to that would be looking at our calendars. I personally, for my own selfish reasons, birthday trip, would be looking at the first 2 weeks of November, because we would end up, and I'd be in a real good jump-off spot for my birthday vacation, which would be the week after this. So the first 2 weeks of November could be wide open on my calendar. It looks like it would tie up just right with weather and set me up to be in somewhere and go have some real nice birthday trip after this to refuel my tank. On a serious note, to replenish my tank, because I have to find ways to also make sure my tank is full so that I can give freely. So The next step, though, after us looking at the numbers, would be looking seriously and then putting some dates on the calendar, and then talking about how we interface with the training and who from your team. And even as I build a team for this particular project, Davi and I would be doing some talk about how we build that team on our side to bring, and how we then coordinate that training so that we can do the preemptive stuff and address anything that comes up as we go along, the stuff we can't plan for. So that would be my proposed steps of action, that we come back, and by come back, we can do it through WhatsApp, revise and communicate through WhatsApp as we look at numbers. If that looks good and everyone's in consensus that we move forward, let's look at dates, look at our calendars, and let's put some tentative date on this, because then it's real and we can start talking and figuring out things like marketing and PR and who we invite and that kind of thing. And then have a conversation about some calendaring for some dates. What I would do first is just put everybody in the Google Classroom and do that stuff with video, and then do the follow-up from that. Plan that out maybe in the next couple of months, do a monthly kind of Zoom thing that brings in those leadership team. So that would be my proposed step-by-step of what we do the next kind of three or four turns. If that sounds good with everyone.
That sounds good.
Then y'all give your benediction, and then we go on about our day and see each other in the WhatsApp. Feedback, follow up. What else y'all got to say? That's all I got. I ain't got nothing else.
Thank you.
Enjoy.
Yes, start your day.
All right, guys. High five to everybody. Global high five.
Wait.
Another win for technology when I have it plugged in.
Wait.
Oh, screenshot. Everybody look, I'll do a screenshot too. Oh, okay, let's see. Okay, got it. Okay, I'll send that to you guys in a minute with the editing. Thank you so much for committing time and working through the challenges of time zones. We can do this. We can do it. We just make it work, and we just give grace for when it don't work so smoothly.
Exactly.
So thank you all for your time, and I look forward to it. I'm super excited about just the possibilities and the greater reach. We do much more when we do it together. Our reach, our influence becomes so much greater. So thank you for committing in the dark, under the cover of darkness of night, as I'm watching the clouds go by and morning evolve here as I sit look out my window. I appreciate you guys giving your time this morning and thoughtfulness. Thank you so much, both of you.
Thank you. I'll see you soon.
I look forward to more, and we'll meet again soon, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.